Hello boys and girls. Today's video is going to be on percents, decimals, and fractions and how they are related to each other. The most important thing for us to remember is that percent means out of 100. Out of 100. So when we're going between percents, decimals, and fractions, we always need to stay out of 100. When we have fourths, we need to somehow change it into hundreds. When we have fifths, they need to be into hundreds. 20th, they need to be into hundreds. As a fifth grader, you'll only be expected to do ones that are fairly easy and make sense. So, what is a percent? Well, when we have a chart, a hundreds chart, we have 100 squares. 10 by 10 gives us 100 squares. So we can fill in some of these squares. I just filled them in a little bit for simplicity's sake. So then we should feel very comfortable at looking at this and knowing what the fraction would be. There's 100 total, and we have 25 of those pieces. 25 out of 100. Wait a second, I just said percents mean out of 100. So if percent means out of 100, what do you think this would be as a percent? Well, how do we read this? 25 out of 100. So what would it be? 25%. It's a little quick fancy way of writing percent. It's one line with two dots on either side, and this means 25 out of 100. Now with this fraction, and also with this picture, you should be able to write the decimal. 0 and 25 out of 100, 25 hundredths. These are all the same amount. They all mean I have my total, which is 100 pieces, and I actually have 25 of them. 25 out of 100, 25 out of 100, and 25 hundredths, or 25 out of 100. The most important thing we need to remember is that percents mean out of 100. Just like this fraction shows out of 100, just like this decimal shows out of 100, this percent means out of 100. Now the only thing that gets a little tricky sometimes is you're expected to find your fraction in simplest form. If you don't remember that, go ahead and review that video. Look for the simplest form video. But we look at 25 and 100, and what can we divide them both by? How do you look at that and you know you can divide them both by 25? That's not how I taught it. I taught it in the most simplest, basic, easy way to remember. So what can I divide both of these by? 2? No. 3? No. And we get to skip 4, so 5. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 100 divided by 5 is 20. But then I can do it again. I always check to make sure I can do it again. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So our fraction of this is actually 1/4, which is just another name for 25 hundredths. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 groups of 25, and I have one of those groups would be shaded in. So that's how percents, decimals, and fractions are related. So what we're going to look at now, really quick, is how to go in between any given decimal, fraction, and percent. So sometimes it's really, really easy, and you're given something nice and simple like 79 hundredths. Well, that says 79 out of 100. So how do we write that as a percent? What does percent mean? Out of 100. So we just write 79%. And this says 79 out of 100, or 79 hundredths. So how do we write that as a decimal? 79 hundredths. It's a little bit more complicated. Sometimes you're given things like 8 hundredths, not 8 tenths. So as long as you just take the time to think, this means I have 8 out of 100. How would I write that? 8 out of 100. And how would I write that as a decimal? Well, I need to show that I have 8 out of 100, not 80 out of 100. So I need a placeholder because I don't have any tenths. I have 8 out of 100. You should take the time. If you write this, ask yourself, does this show me that I have 8 out of 100? And you should recognize it doesn't. This shows me I have 8 tenths. So how can I move that tenth? I can use my 0 as a placeholder. Now, we're going to look at one more way. It's a little bit complicated sometimes. What if you were given something like 2/5? Do you remember how we can go to a decimal? Because then once you have the decimal, it's easy. You're in hundredths, so you just put it in hundredths. Well, you can review the video on how to go from fractions and decimals are related, and once you know the decimal, it's very easy. So our king goes in the castle, our peasant goes outside, we immediately place our decimal, 5 goes into 2 0 times, 5 goes into 24 times, 5 times 4 is 20, 20 minus 20 is 0, so that our decimal is 0.4, but that's in our tenths. What power do you have? You have a magical power, your magical 0, that makes it out of 100. So 40 hundredths, 40 out of 100. Percent means out of 100. So it's 40%. 2/5 is the same thing as 40 hundredths, which is the same thing as 40%. I hope you're seeing how this is all connected. Go back and review those fractions into decimals, and you'll do a great job. Nice work, boys and girls. Continue watching the videos to improve your scores.